Ladies and gentlemen, the wait is finally over. It is Labor Day weekend. Sunday, the Noles have traveled to New Orleans to take on the Bayou Bengals in a new and improved and somewhat Cajun Bayou Brian Kelly. And folks, here is our prediction. The quickie, 10 12 minutes, but let's get this ball rolling.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good morning in the morning. Mainly, I would do the morning, afternoon, and evening, but we don't have time for that because today is finally game day. LSU, Florida State. Dave, you're still muted. You're still hyped. We're too hyped to even fix everything else. But Dave, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing great, Greg. Last week didn't really feel like a game day because that was a fake game. This is a real one. This is big boy football.
Yeah, I'm about to head over to brunch actually after we're done recording this and then getting ready for the festivities for the rest of the day. But folks, we are here to talk about the LSU Tigers versus our Florida State Seminoles. As you hopefully watched earlier, we had Caroline Fenton on early in the week. Well, I was on Caroline's show for Locked On LSU. We dropped the show yesterday. Hopefully you're able to catch up on that for a deeper review. But Dave, we need Dave's thoughts. We always need Dave's opinion on everything here. So Dave, kick us off, preview, and also prediction.
Drake, I'm gonna tell you why Florida State's gonna win this game. If you listen to anybody who will talk to you about LSU football, they'll tell you about how good this defensive line is. And I'm here to tell you it's not. This is not that good of a defensive line. It's not one of the best ones we'll face this year. It's maybe average. BJ Ojulari, great defensive lineman for LSU. Everyone else, all right. Everyone on LSU's defensive line, if you go look at their PFF grades, what they're best at is pass rush. And pass rush is what our offensive line does better than the other thing. Like, we're not great at run blocking. We're actually terrible at it, and we were last year. So that's, I guess, strength on strength. And I would rather it be that than the other way around, than them be great at pass rushing and we just be terrible at pass blocking. That's not the case. Obviously, we're going to learn a lot about this offensive line in this game. Is pass blocking really what they're best at? Is that defensive line much better at pass rush than than you would think from them getting most of their positive grade coming against like FCS schools and lower G5 schools? Because that's the case for LSU. Most of their production has come against lesser schools like I forgot who it was, like Central Michigan and McNeese, games like that.
I'm about to say one of their defensive linemen, I think, had total for the entire year 7 sacks, but he had like 5 sacks in that game. Which, listen,
right.
We were complaining last week about how Jared Verse didn't have a sack party against Duquesne, but overall, like, you need to go deeper into the numbers to see actually how this defensive line actually is. They're very good. They're also very young. They have potential to be elite by the end of the year, but this is the beginning of the year, not the end of the year.
Right, and that matters because what they're not good at is run blocking, and what we are good at is running the football. You saw what we did last week. We had 3 guys go for triple figures. Obviously, that was against Duquesne. Tell you what, man, if they're not good at run blocking and we're good at running it, whether we're good at run blocking or not, I could see this being a game where Jordan Travis goes off and we have, I don't know which one of the running backs, but one of them pop for 150. Like, this could be one of those games where we rush for 250, 300 yards, even though we probably shouldn't because it's supposed to be a good defensive line. That's the key to this game. We run the ball down their throats. We win this game.
I completely agree with that. I think that's mainly where the focus of the attack should be. Now, Dave, we're going to go a little bit deeper with the lines because, as you folks know, we are sponsored by our good friends over at BetOnline.net, and the line has continued to move as of this morning. Yep. Right now, FSU is a 4-point underdog to the Louisiana State Tigers, and I think primarily what we need to look at this game for is, Dave, I do agree with you, but I've rewatched the Duquesne tape several times since we last recorded. And I'm a little more lower, actually, after some of our commenters, they point out how I praise Bless Harris, then watch tape, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he didn't play all that great. So this offensive line does give me a little bit of concern because while the LSU defensive line, they haven't graded out great. They're all super young, either freshmen or sophomores. I think Ojulari and Gay are the only ones that are actually our upperclassmen. And they also play in the SEC West primarily. and we know how strong and talented the SEC offensive lines overall are. To me, this is going to go more to if we're able to hit the bigger chunk plays, and also if we can somehow contain both Kayshon Boutte, the top 10 wide receiver from LSU, and Malik Neighbors on the outside.
Look, Trayshawn Ward last year averaged 3.7 yards after contact. Jordan Travis averaged 3.39. If that defensive line of LSU's cannot get either of those guys on the ground at the line of scrimmage, we're going to have a field day on the ground. The passing game will be open because of the running game, and so the pass blocking won't matter quite so much because they're not going to be able to rush so many passers and be as aggressive. So that's my key to this game. You don't get Jordan Travis or Trayshawn Ward or Trey Benson on the ground at the line of scrimmage or really close to it. That's the end of the game. I like FSU to win this game. I like FSU to win this game by, let's call it 6 points, 6
Really?
point win. So
Damn.
I'll say 36-30.
You'll say 36-30. So I said on Lockdown LSU earlier this week, I thought it was 31-28. I think this is going to be a race to 30, aka 13 going on 30 for Jordan Travis, since he's number 13. It's really hard for me to pick on this game. I've been kind of flip-flopping back and forth, but after seeing basically, folks, as you know, we're recording this on Sunday morning. We've watched all the games yesterday. We saw Cristobal and how Miami handled Bethune-Cookman 70-14, and then you see what happened over in Gainesville with Anthony Richardson actually basically being what me and David have been saying for the past 2 years, how sky high his potential is. Yeah. So to me, this is a game that with Mike Norvell, he needs to show out, and it's getting to the point now where if he doesn't at least probably keep it super close, like a 1-point win or even win by 6, like Dave is saying, there's going to be a lot of people upset out there in the fan base, even though this team is extremely talented. That being said, I do agree with Dave. I think this team is talented enough to win this game. We do bring back Amarion Cooper, as far as we know for right now, as cornerback 1, so we can actually rotate Jerry and Jones, Greedy Vance to come in and out as well. Kevin Knowles isn't going to be asked to do as much because Kevin Knowles, I have high hopes for him, but he was our worst graded out defender last week. And then Johnny Wilson apparently, he got the rolled up ankle on a big 51-yard play. To me, this will come down to basically if we're able to contain Jaden Daniels. And by contain, I know he's not the great of a passer. We discussed that ad nauseum on here. If we're able to contain him and actually, because we saw last year with Syracuse with Garrett Schrader, we didn't respect his legs at all, and he ran for almost 100 yards against us. If we're able to prevent Jaden Daniels from extending the plays for his wide receivers, because eventually they will get open. If we're able to contain him, prevent him from extending the plays, I see FSU winning this game. And also, for those gamblers out there, you see below BetOnline FSU +4. Mike Norvell is undefeated against the spread against Brian Kelly. So for those of you LSU fans out there, take the +4 because when we do beat your ass, it'll make you feel better at the end of the
day. Right. Yeah, and you just said something that there's a lot of reasons why I think Florida State's going to win this game. I really do feel very good about this. I don't have the same sense of nerves that I have going into a lot of games. Brian Kelly has an awful lot to fix there at LSU. He has a lot of
talented roster, though. Very, very talented roster.
Very talented roster, but he has a lot. I mean, first of all, he has to install his system. He has to install the basics there at LSU because that's
what Creole, so he can speak, with everybody else because he's got the Cajun accent already.
Right. But what he doesn't have to work with is the better quarterback in this game. And I will almost always, with a few exceptions, take the team with the markedly better quarterback of the two. In my eyes, Jordan Travis is a markedly better quarterback than Jaden Daniels, who has done nothing but gotten worse every single day since his freshman year, when he had a very good season. Since then, it's been So I like Jordan Travis and Florida State in this one. Brian Kelly, he's in for a rude awakening about what I think it's like to just have to start over and not be at the same school for 15 years and just kind of ride on the coattails of really good recruiting classes you've built up. He's only had one at LSU, and it was a short one. So I don't trust it. If this isn't the game, if this isn't the primetime game that Mike Norvell is going to make his statement here at Florida State, you just wonder how many games there's going to be left. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to win this one.
I agree with that. I think this will be the most calm that I think I'll come into actually probably for a game. Even against Duquesne, I'm like, yeah, we're going to be fine. This isn't like a Jacksonville State kind of situation where I got to like clutch my pearls every time I see them having the ball. To me, this is going to be a fun game. It's going to be a good game. But Dave, before we go, let's give our fans out there one player to look at on each side of the ball with offense and defense. Who do you think is going to be probably the X factor for each position group, each side of the ball heading into this game?
Okay, so on the defensive side, it's probably if
You
you're
don't
able to.
you don't have to go like super creative.
Okay,
You can be chalk. It's okay.
if you're able
I'll be creative for you, my guy. I got you.
if you can knock Jaden Daniels off his spot on defense, I think probably that's gonna take their offense out of sync the whole game. So it's gonna be one of the defensive linemen. You wonder if this is gonna be the Jared Verse game because if we all thought it was gonna be against Duquesne, so this just seems like a natural fit as a game that somebody like him, who's a true pass rush kind of specialist, will at this point in his career will be able to show out against LSU's offensive line. I love that matchup for him. On the offensive side of the ball, let's call it Trey Benson. Same story, right? Like we thought he was going to emerge as the clear cut number one running back. This is a game where I think the running backs should feast, and I think we're gonna, I think we're gonna run it down LSU's throat. Like I said, I think this is a game where he could finally make it, make a statement for himself as the lead back for Florida State and have one of those 150-yard games.
I like that a lot, actually. I do think Trey Benson going to do well. I think for the offensive side of the ball, though, because we didn't see enough of it with the game planning last week because it was very the vanilla game plan against Duquesne. I'm going to go with Micah Pittman because I think Micah Pittman's actually going to be – they're going to be a lot of focus on Johnny Wilson because of his size. Ontario Wilson, who also is healthy and back, should be on the outside. And then we're going to have, Malik McClain, Duspan. But Micah Pittman's going to be probably your most consistent and targeted wide receiver in this offense. Like I said, to me, that kid's going to be used like baby Debo Samuel with the Niners right now. And the linebacking core for LSU, it's decent. But to me, him being shifty, him being having that pit bull, dog mentality, that's something we want to target all the time. And then I could go with Duke Cooper because he's going to have to cover the best wide receiver probably we'll see all season. But I'm going to go with Tatum Bethune because another transfer, primarily because we saw last week we finally have a sideline backer actually in this defense. And he's also going to be helping out with Caden Deloach a lot. And to me, Tatum Bethune, this might be the Jermaine Johnson game the Jermaine Johnson, Miami game last year where you kind of impose your will against quarterback. And to me, I think Tatum Bethune is that guy. And quite honestly, it'll be great to see a kind of another transfer be that much of a diamond in the rough for us.
Yeah, it's funny. That was my second pick there also. And I think the one question I have for you, and dude, I just feel good. I feel the energy. It's game day, and I feel like this is a winning game day. But run pass split. What do you think we're gonna end up saying?
With these, probably 65 running, 35 passing.
Yeah, that feels about right. Like 2/3 to 1/3.
And I was on Max's Seminole executive brief earlier this week, and to me, he asked I asked him how much would you run Jordan, primarily because we were talking about how with Maurice Smith and Darius Washington both being back in the depth chart, are they worth the extensive injury risk and then losing them for AC play like against Louisville, which now looks like a winnable game. Boston College, they suck. Wake Forest, no Sam Hartman, so you kind of want to see keep them fully healthy. So I'm like, Jordan, would you keep Jordan probably not running as much? He's like, no, I would still run him because that's probably a big part of your game plan. He's a dynamic runner. And I'm like, so maybe we should just teach him how to slide because that's the one thing that irks me. Your brother is Devin Travis, one of the best FSU baseball players we've had here. Yeah, I know you know how to slide, my guy. Just text Devin.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. It's weird for me because if that's your bread and butter, that's what Jordan Travis has built a name for himself on. We know we're screwed if he gets injured. That's the case no matter what. But if it's also the case that this team can only meet its ceiling with him playing the way that he plays, I mean, it's a catch-22. I think you got to let him do what he needs to do to win this game. If God forbid he gets injured in the process, that's tough. But if the running lanes are there, he's got to run the ball. Like I said, that defensive line doesn't scare me at all against the run. And if you're able to establish the run, that's only going to open up the passing game, which is going to make it easier for the offensive line, which is going to reduce his injury risk when he's sitting back there in the pocket. So all in all, I think it's worth it for him to run the ball as many times as he needs to. Not every play, not get skittish. And I don't think he'll get skittish. I don't think this game's too big for Jordan Travis. But that said, I do expect a huge running game, including out of him. And I think that's the key to this game.
I think it's the key to this game. I think that with LSU, we do need to watch out for probably that defensive line. Like Dave, I do know what you're saying for they're younger, but that still is a very, very top tier defensive line. Like Dave will probably be posting some stats later today, probably on the account to basically show my boy did a lot of research, and I actually was very proud of him for that for Dave's data hour over there. But folks, it's opening weekend. We're super optimistic, super hopeful. Typically, that's not me and Dave's bread and butter. That's basically we're more of the tribe of realists. But It's opening weekend. Let's have some fun. Let's beat some Tigers down. Let's go down there, take over the trap, and just basically have a good time. And folks, thank you to each and every single one of you for making Locked On Seminoles first listen each and every single day. As always, 5-star reviews, our podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast from, on YouTube. Like this video, hit the subscribe button at tippy top. See, Dave, I can do this too. Ding the little bell so you know when new content drops, and always share with your friends. And Dave, last final words before we send the folks off into tailgating and just basically having a good time today.
Drake, we're going to win a primetime game. It's going to happen. The ACC also feels super winnable right now after watching those games yesterday, doesn't it? I know Clemson goes tomorrow. Watch them end up losing to Georgia Tech, and we're in the driver's seat. Hell, this is going to be a cool year. It has a weird feeling to it, right? Like maybe this is the weird cool year.
I have like a tingling sensation just down. I feel good. But folks, as always, this was Drake and that was Dave, and we'll see y'all next time on Locked On Seminoles. Mike, take care of those Tigers.
We'll see you when we're 2-0.
Let's ride.